I think I'm gonna go to that.
Yeah.
See if I can get some trees.
That'd be fun. I saw a list of where like elderberries.
Yeah. And the toughest-
Already like
the toughest thing
like I like ordered for some elderberries. I was like, oh, I should.
Okay. All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Thank you so much for being here. It's the March meeting for the 109 board. Start by approval of the minutes from the February 109 board meeting. We hear a motion to approve those minutes as presented.
I'll move.
Here a second. Any comments, anything that you saw that needs to be changed? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And minutes are approved. Let's move to the budget report.
All right, so budget reports right here. If you look at the top all the way to the right, budget remaining, that's how much we brought in over the allotted budget amount for the year. So how much we're in the green. And 122% of it's been used. That means you went over 100%. So if there's any questions on any of those, feel free.
Yeah, I think that the only thing that I had was just, channeling Brian, who's not here tonight. It's just even if we just put it as a line item, like outside of the actual screenshot, just to show what the carryover is
Okay.
at the bottom, just to show that we have that pool
Yeah, take care of
available.
the
Even, it doesn't need to be in the,
I got
yeah.
I can do that moving forward.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem. And then if you move it to the second one, Karen is, get some of the invoices, the discharge transactions with the.
These are the typical,
So like you got the old, the contractor for household hazardous, a couple of pink cards for supplies here and there, unit cards for your uniforms. Pro cleans the monthly for the portable Florida's field trip. And then Huntington National Bank is the lease we have on the front load. So nothing major out of the ordinary.
Okay. Anything standing out? Any questions?
Zoomy microscope sounds fun. Yeah, you have to join Diane in a class if you want to see some compost up close. I like my wish too.
Even closer than you can already see.
It will be fun.
Okay, if there are no questions, I'll hear a motion to approve the budget report.
So moved.
Here a second. I'll second. Any further comments? So the only comment was to include that carryover.
Yeah, just
as
as a
basically
dollar.
to show that we have a reserve of
Yeah.
those funds.
Yeah, I'll put it on that screen right there.
Okay,
Okay.
It'll be like bottom right.
yeah, sure. That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, David. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes and the budget report is approved. New business, the Waste District grant.
Okay, that's me. I wanted to, we're like halfway through our grant cycle, so I was hoping to get some updates since we have new member and other members that aren't here, but I wanted to just remind everybody like what happened last year. The purpose of the grant that the district offered was to support and incentivize entities in Jefferson County and Louisville to develop and implement innovative programs and services that align with our mission and specific actions outlined in the 5-year plan. So we as in you all, created the budget for last year's grants at $50,000. Applicants could request from $5,000 to $50,000, and we did award all the funding. I wanted to share, we did, just as a reminder, we received 6 total applications. We had, as far as the scoring team, it included 3 staff members, 1 advisory committee member, and 1 board member. And the 2 highest scoring applications received all requested funding, and the third highest received partial funding. And then the recipients were Feed Louisville, Louisville Tool Library, and Goldenrod Composting. The Louisville Tool Library is not here tonight, and they actually are amending the way they're using their money a little bit. So that's a bit of a process for them, plus a process through the Unigrants software. Basically, the allocating of funding will shift a little bit based on their need, what they found their needs to be. But we can share more details later when we hear from them. But Feed Louisville is here, and Goldenrod Composting is here to share an update. So I'm actually going to start with Feed Louisville. So Rana is here, and I do have a video, but you just let me know. I can go ahead and try, and if there's problems, you can talk. Works for you.
Thank you.
Right now, there are people who don't know where their next meal is. And at the same time, caterer just has a few piece of leftover pasta they throw away, don't know what to do with it. Every day in Louisville, thousands of pounds of food is still edible. It's thrown into the landfill. Every day, hundreds of Louisvillians are chronically food. It doesn't have to be this way. We have built the infrastructure at Feed Louisville to take in viable excess food from our network of restaurants, caterers, bakers, grocers, and farmers, and distribute it to those who need it. Our mission is to reduce hunger while reducing costs. We vet all of our partners and trust their commitment to safe food. Our food rescue partners tell us that they're thankful to have a place to send their still good, overproduced food. No producer wants to see their hard work being wasted. When we bring the rescued food back to our commercial kitchen in Butchertown, everything gets weighed and tracked. We triage every item to determine where the food have the most impact. The donations range from raw ingredients to ready-to-eat snacks to pantry staples. We are a team of former restaurant chefs who upcycle these ingredients, hundreds of hot and nutrient every day. It takes the nimble creativity, safe food handling expertise of a professional chef to repurpose this wild array of food ingredients that come in daily. Beautiful, culturally accessible, and we make the menu daily based on what's available, always remembering that this may be the only meal the recipient eats today. We are currently partnered with 12 human service agencies to take our prepared meals and other food resources directly to unhoused people living on the streets or in a day shelter like Up for Women and Children, or a housing transition program like the Arthur Street Hotel or Hope Village, or a food pantry like Sister Visitors. Our partners tell us that hunger is the most critical barrier their clients must overcome while working on the other issues that they're facing. Food is a way of connecting to others. Food builds community. Most importantly, food is a basic human need, not function without it. Our ability to support our community with this most basic resource allows them to focus on meeting the other needs of the people. The work at Feed Louisville started with an innocent conversation during a chance meeting, a time of uncertainty, March 2020, the pandemic rattle every system in our community. Started with the desire of two people: make sure that folks living on the streets would have access to hot food as soup kitchens shuttered, volunteers went into isolation. It started in a tiny church kitchen, grew into a collaboration between the hospitality industry, local mutual aid activists working in solidarity with the unhoused. Today, we operate out of an 8,000 square foot kitchen and have a full-time staff of 14 who are dedicated to continuing that commitment, hunger relief, And we do that by redistributing valuable resources around the community every day. It is our vision to grow in our niche as the go-to for food providers, donate their overproduced food. We can grow our network of organizations. We can rescue more food and feed more people. The need is great.
Where would you like me to stand? I don't want to be at your backs there and.
No, you're fine. Wherever you want to stand, it's totally fine.
So first of all, thank you all so much. Thanks to the board and your committee and this organization for the grant last year. Feed Louisville did not start out to do food rescue. We are a hunger relief agency. We started out with the idea of feeding people, and along the way, we kind of picked up this second mission of food rescue, we call it. And so now we sort of, work at the intersection of those two issues. And once we kind of got into it and started doing it, it made a lot of sense. And it continues to make sense to us as we grow the number of food producers in this community who trust us to take in their food and do something really good with it. And I always like to emphasize, as the video did, that having chefs, people who are really educated on food safety and creativity, is what's unique about our model. Be able to take this food in and make something great with it. So we really appreciate the support. Last year in 2025 was our third year doing what we call the No Waste, No Hunger campaign. We do that around the holidays at that time when people are really thinking about that disparity between abundance and lack. And we do it because we want to bring attention to the producers in this community, restaurants, caterers, farmers, grocers, who donate their food, because this is a commitment on their part. It is not easy to take the time, the staff, the shelf space, everything that is required of them to set that food aside, call us and say, hey, we have food. So we want the community to understand that. So at the holidays, at that time, we are sending the community, customers, to those partners of ours to say, we see what you're doing, we want to support what you're doing, and then they are simultaneously doing a fundraiser for our work as well. So it sort of accomplishes two things at once. So this past year was our biggest year. Every year this is growing. Every year we are learning more as we do this. We have, there's so many producers. We have 200 partners right now who donate to us on a regular basis. And so every year it's growing, and we hope to see this campaign continue to be and grow into a regular community event. People start to recognize it and to really support our partners, our producers. This, metrics and the impact report that I've shared with you shows you the restaurants and bars and organizations or companies who participated this year. And I will say that what we asked for the campaign sponsorship, what you helped with, was to pay for things like billboards, t-shirts. We had a PR person help us this year, which was the first time we had that, and it made a huge difference in the success of the campaign. Having someone who get us on those TV spots, bring those chefs in to newsrooms and talk about the work and engage with the community made a huge difference. You can see some of these restaurants are multi-location companies, and we had 15 producers participating this year, but that was over 37 locations. So in each one of those locations, we have your logo along with our other sponsors, really bringing attention to the support that you've given us. And it was great. We ended up netting from the campaign $18,624, which is a progression each year. We're seeing that grow. This year, we were lucky enough to have Toast. I don't know if you're familiar with Toast. It's a point of sale company that works with restaurants. They are one of our ongoing partners now and will be with us this year again, and just had tremendous influence on their customers. And they have a great sort of back end function that allows restaurants and bars and bakeries to very easily do a roundup campaign. So that really helped a lot, and we appreciated their participation. We are continuing to grow this part of our work. We see more and more the need for it. Almost every day we have a new producer in this community call us to say, hey, I've got some food. As we said on the video, we vet all of our partners. We only work with commercially licensed producers. So if someone calls and has made a great batch of chili at home, we always say, I'm sure it's delicious, but because of the health code, we cannot accept it. So it's, we're very conscious about that. We took in last year 467 pounds of food, almost 500,000 pounds. Our facility in Butchertown can do a lot more than that. You know, we can easily take in 1 million pounds or more a year of food rescue. So we are slowly building capacity for that. The main issue we have now is just adding drivers and vans to go out. We are out in the community 6 days a week. We have 2 drivers plus volunteers out every day picking up. We pick up on demand. We make sure that our donors don't have to work too hard to get the food to us beyond what they're doing in their locations. Yeah, and it's a huge need. And I think right now with everything that we are facing in terms of a continued need in the community, food insecurity, you know, possible food shortages that we may be facing right now, this part of what we do as a hunger relief organization and the ability to take in viable food is going to be really critical, continue to be very critical. So much I could tell you, so many great things happening. I am excited to say that we are the official food rescue organization of the Kentucky Derby Festival this year. So we'll be rescuing food from 70 events for them, plus the chow wagon. So it's the first year that we've done that, and we're really excited about it. But we've rescued from UofL events before, Taste of Derby last year, Taste of Louisville years, and some music festivals. So that's a place where you really have a lot of food waste, and we're able to prevent that. Questions for me? Or Janice Cakes is here with me. She's our development officer.
So I see about maybe 12 or so, 12 to 14 different community feeding partners. How do those organizations connect with you? And then do you use like the same drivers to, you know, take food, deliver food to them? How does that interaction work?
Yes, that's a good question. So the video was made last year. We actually have 25 community feeding partners now. That also continues to grow. You know, we really fill a gap in the community with these organizations who are either formal organizations or grassroots groups who are working on the front lines. And the way we work with them, they do come to the kitchen to pick up their food. Mm-hmm. So whether they are a street outreach team or a family shelter like the VOA or Hope Village or a transitional housing program, they have staff coming in, you know, every day to pick up the hot meals. And then there's a whole other, so we bring in the food, and as in the video it said, we triage it. We prioritize what the chefs can use to make meals. That's sort of our priority. But what we discovered, and actually where we grew the most last year, was on what we call it's redistribution. So it's all of these other resources. It's pantry staples, ready to eat, it's produce, things like that. That is actually having just as much impact as the hot meals that we make. So there are a whole group of our partners who don't take meals for whatever reason, but they're taking these, they're making house boxes for people who are housed but food insecure and getting food out to them. So we're doing that. No questions.
So I noticed so there are about 467,000 pounds of food rescued, 324,000 pounds redistributed. Are the 150,000 meals, is that part of the 324,000, or is that?
No, that's, yeah.
I initially thought it was, and then when you said it was a different thing, so
It's different. Yeah, we, the 324,000, that's that other location,
Gotcha,
that's
yeah.
that other group. So, and any of you are welcome to come. You know, Karen and Diane have been to the kitchen and seen how we operate. It's fascinating. I'm still fascinated by it every day. I kind of drive the team crazy because when I walk through the dock and something's coming in from Target or Kroger or wherever it is, I'm snooping around because I'm fascinated by the things that stores and food producers will throw away. And I don't understand why. Sometimes we see things like, why are they throwing this away? It's perfectly, it's in great condition. None of it is expired, but they have their reasons. And if we weren't able to capture this, it would have gone to the landfill. So it's really interesting. And that's that other part that's really having a huge impact.
So I would just like to say that, thank you all for applying. Y'all was the impetus behind our grant process. As it started, with a lot to get going. Aaron, team, city members, everybody put a lot of work into that. So it was great that you was able to bring something like this, and we were able to take this idea even further, which we're getting here from another person here tonight. What we really kind of, I guess my question would be, how was the grant? And feel like that there's anything that we can.
Honestly, it was very easy. So that's very impressive considering you just are getting it going. No, it was great. It was very straightforward. I felt like it was, we could sit down in an hour or so and get that information to you. I think the biggest problem, and Karen was been very patient with me. I struggled on the grant reporting side, just getting some things uploaded. That wasn't part of the system. That was just me, my fault. But it was the reporting side was great, and yeah, did a great job. And as we said, you put that together really fast for a government-run agency to be able to put that together.
So speaking of the grant amount, can you speak to the amount that you received and what that amount equated to with reduction of food waste?
Yes, well, we value the meals that we produce at $5 each. So, yeah, somebody do the math, or I embarrass myself. That's 100 meals. Is that right? 100.
Yeah, 1,000.
Thank you. 1,000 meals that we were able, if you want to look at it that way. But what we did with the campaign was use it to promote the campaign itself, to bring more attention to the work. As I said on the report, since November when we started the campaign to now, we've easily acquired an additional 30 food rescue partners. So the awareness that has increased in the community, people who didn't know about us were able to, to now have a place to take their food.
So did that $5,000 did equate to a quantifiable amount of food reduction or food waste reduction, essentially? Just thinking of like our charge and ultimately what we're trying to accomplish.
Well,
this board.
And this is good. If you will give me an idea of how you would like to see that information, I can send that to you. We look at it in terms of the pounds of food rescued.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I can tell you what we did in November, December during the campaign. That's one way of looking at it, but a lot of that impact is actually happening after, right? As we gain new partners. So we're seeing that now in January, February, March.
Mm-hmm.
So I can certainly send you over some numbers that sort of show that progression.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. Especially as we look at the future of this grant and this grant process. Like what are we as a board really looking for as far as quantifiable results or deliverables as a result of these grants that we're awarding.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm happy to do that and get a little bit more.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Really appreciate you having us here tonight.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for being here. Okay, and now we have Nathan Ryder with Goldenrod Company.
Take the position over here too, so you'll get a good stretch in your neck before you're done here. Thanks so much. Again, My name is Nathan Ryder. I represent Goldenrod Compost Company. Our goal is to make it easy for restaurants, caterers, and other food preparers to keep food waste out of the landfill. We provide weekly clean bin swaps where you fill the bin up and you take it away and replace it with a clean bin to make it as easy as possible to collect your food scraps. It's great to go after Feed Louisville because we certainly believe that we should feed people first, and then possibly animals, and then the soil, and never the landfill. The goal here is certainly to find use for that food before it gets to us, and certainly before it gets to the landfill. So I come bearing good news. The grant is doing exactly what it's supposed to do for us. We were granted $20,500 for the purchase of a truck primarily, which the goal was to increase our capacity in hauling. I've got a couple pictures here to show you. This is what we were doing before. I towed a 5x8 foot trailer behind my little RAV4 all over town and collected about, I think 12 tons of food waste this way, making do with what we had. And since then, we've upgraded. Thanks to you all, we have a nice E59 step van, and this is going to more than double our hauling capacity. And so far, just in the grant reporting time, or the grant period, we've increased our hauling by 60%. So the grant is working because knowing that we have the capacity to increase what we can haul, we've been able to find new partners, new organizations, and increase the amount of food scraps that we're taking in, knowing that we have the equipment to take care of that. So yeah, so our food scrap diversion just in the grant period has increased by 60%. So far, I think by the end of the year, we'll easily triple what we were hauling last year in 2026. So yeah, we're really excited to keep expanding as we go through the end of the October period. And honestly, look forward to hopefully applying again for some future funding for other opportunities to increase our capacity on the processing side. The thing that we like most about this gig is that we get to take food that probably came from really great restaurants, which came from really great farms here in Kentucky, and then we cycle that food back to the farms where it came from. We work with a lot of farms around the state, and we currently have a wait list of about 12 farmers who are hoping for finished compost this fall. I think we'll be able to serve maybe 3 of them. But yeah, we're really hoping to increase that capacity. Most farmers in Kentucky, most organic farmers in Kentucky pull compost from Oregon and from Maine and from Vermont and some from Ohio, but most of that compost that comes into the state comes with a huge shipping bill, a huge carbon footprint attached to it. So we're really looking forward to being able to provide high quality compost to farmers in the city, which then goes back to create more produce that comes into Louisville and feeds people. Yeah, we've also had some really great partnerships throughout the year. Through the grant reporting period, we sort of left in some of our original plan to do some community outreach. Even though the funding was primarily spent on the truck, we didn't get all of the funding for the community outreach side of things, but decided to keep some of that in anyway. And so we had a really great experience helping the Festival of Faiths be as close to zero waste event as possible. That was really a great opportunity to get in front of thousands of people. The Organic Association of Kentucky, they have an annual conference, actually out in Frankfurt, but it draws urban farmers from Louisville and organic farmers from all over the state. And we provided composting for their organization. And then we also have been working with the Schnitzelberg Area Community Council. We're really, we live in Schnitzelberg, and so we enjoy working with them to try to get more of the businesses to jump on board as composters partners. Yeah, I think that's everything I have. Are there any questions? Don't need to call them, or do you want to call them?
Hey, I was just wondering, where's the location that you take your content? Some of the more like compostable works and places that they require a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we compost on a farm. We rent 2 acres in Meade County currently from a farmer who's a great partner. He's being very generous with his equipment, and he's the #1 person on our wait list for compost. So he's getting the first batch. And the great thing is they sell produce to a lot of the restaurants that we partner with. So we actually know that really is a full circle situation. We produce currently we've got windrows that are about 60 yards each, and 60 cubic yards of material each. And so the way we're turning compost there, we make sure that it meets organic standards, and which does reach 131 degrees, which is hot enough to break down those plastics, meat, bones, dairy, oils, all that kind of stuff. So we accept compostable plastics that are certified by the BPI organization, which is great. We have one chef and who has completely switched their organization over to compostable things. They do huge events in Louisville, and they have compostable, soup spoons, and they do hors d'oeuvres and plated things. And I keep calling him saying, "Man, Chef Mike, what's all this in the bin? There's a bunch of trash in here." And he says, "No, let me send you the link. I promise. It's certified compostable. It was just too small of a thing to get the logo on there." And so he completely converted their entire kitchen over. And so now it's really easy for their kitchen staff to just dump everything in the bin basically at the end of an event. And so yeah, we're really excited about that.
How many days a week are you able to serve?
We usually do weekly bin swaps for organizations. That breaks the cycle of fruit flies. It might attract a few flies, but they're not going to reproduce. There's a couple organizations that we do on demand where we as soon as they have bins that are full that they want hauled out, they call us and we come and pick up.
And you have current capacity to multiple times?
Yeah, depending on the service location. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd love to talk with anybody who knows of any organizations or companies that are interested in composting more. We're really hoping to get a couple of food manufacturers on this spring, and have had some delays with that. But it can be hard to convince people that doing the right thing is worth spending money. Yeah.
So on that, can you kind of talk about how you incentivize companies to use your service when, of course, if it's just a financial bottom line, they can just do what they've always done and throw away what they were.
That's a great question. The challenge, with some restaurants, caterers, it's easy to say, do the right thing, divert the food waste. And they say, great, I've always wanted to do that. I was just looking for a service. I'm ready and willing to pay. Unfortunately, not everybody is in that position. So we try to help organizations, companies see the intangible benefit that really does add up in dollar values. A couple of things that I like to highlight is imagine you're a food service worker, you're somebody who works in a kitchen. And your job is to take the trash out at the end of the night. Usually that means hauling a wet and heavy bag of trash out to the dumpster that probably has rats and roaches and all kinds of other things crawling in it. Those bags are dripping through the kitchen, which means you have to mop up afterwards, and not a pleasant experience. In comparison, if your food scraps and liquid wastes are diverted throughout the day, most restaurants keep smaller bins at workstations where they take a little 2-gallon pail out to the bin in the back of the restaurant throughout the day. That food waste is already out of the building, contained, where there aren't any rodents or insects. Honestly, sometimes when I open the bin, you can tell when a restaurant uses really good quality food because it just smells good in the bin. Midsummer, it's not quite as good, but all winter long, it's just like, oh, it's great. But so there's a little bit of demoralization that happens for those staff that are hauling the wet bag out. But that's also time spent. There's money spent on cleanup. I think it creates a better work environment for businesses, which I think will, in the long run, help with retention of staff. I think people feel happier when they know that they're doing the right thing for the environment. And I think it makes people enjoy their job more and want to stay at a company that has good values. That can be hard to quantify. I'm waiting for the restaurant that says, we kept track and we didn't lose X number of staff and we saved X number of dollars in training new staff. The other thing is there really is a reduction in waste. And it's not so much that it necessarily results in a smaller dumpster. I think for some organizations it will reduce the cost of waste hauling otherwise. Yeah.
And then so the last question that I had was,
Yeah.
what was your tonnage this past year? Was
Oh,
that
yeah.
the 12 tons or was
Since the reporting period started, we have hauled 7 tons.
Okay.
In the last since we started in March, I think we're at about 16 tons.
Okay.
But yeah, we're in the month by month, we're up about 60% per month, which is great.
Great, thank you.
Do you guys give any feedback to your vendors as far as how much waste they're creating on a basis? We've done this before. I think that some of them were astonished at how much food waste that they created, and they started to try to.
Yeah. So we weigh every bin that we haul, and that's another thing that we try to use as an incentive, that we offer metrics. Eventually, I would love to offer like a social media package that says, here's how many pounds we weighed or we saved. There's one client that this week she texted me to ask. She's got a board meeting coming up, and she's like, I always love to report our food diversion statistics. And so I gave her the numbers that since they started with us, they've diverted I think 8,000 pounds. It was the equivalent of, I like to try to make it fun for her because I know that her board is interested, and so I told her that she diverted the weight of 3 Asian elephants or 5 Toyota Corollas in the time that they've been working with us. So that's a huge impact in the landfill. But yeah, we offer monthly or as needed reporting on diversion statistics.
So I think, sorry.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, the more that you can have, it sounds like you have the intrinsic value kind of down pat, and the more that you can quantify some kind of extrinsic value for these businesses, whether that's like timely reporting of food waste, like, hey, maybe this could be an indicator that you're over ordering or something like that, and then perhaps that translates into a reward on the bottom line, as well as supporting solid values, because, values are personal and cultural, but businesses, especially restaurants, always have this razor thin margin, and something like that could end up creating value for them, long term.
Thanks.
Yes. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. I'm so glad you all were able to come and report, and it's exciting to see what the grant has done in Louisville already. I do have a couple things. This, I realize, we're lacking 3 members tonight. I have a proposed timeline for the 2026 grant cycle, which is similar to last year. So I don't need you all to tell me, we have some time, basically, if you don't want to make any decisions tonight, but I wanted to put this out here because last year we announced that we had the grant in July. I held like an information session. We had a month-long application period, and so on. So a couple of things that, first of all, I would need to know for sure from the board that we do want to continue the grant. It sounds like we had great feedback here, but I want to make sure that we are doing this again this year. If the amount of funding would remain the same, or if you want to provide more funds or cut back or whatever. And then also, Nathan mentioned here tonight that he might even apply again, but I do, now that it's gonna run a second time, that would be an additional thing to add in the application process that past recipients could apply. So I just brought that up on the slide here just because I want to make sure I highlight that in the application guidelines for whatever you all think.
So I personally, I think a couple of things. I think the amount of funding, I would suggest it stay the same, at least for the second year, because by the time, if applications are closing on August 31st, we will not have even a full year of reporting to know how, the testimonials are great. It sounds like it's all going well, but we also have a company that is completely retooling their, no pun intended, I guess, on their grant. I don't see a reason why past recipients couldn't apply if it's for something that's been successful in the past, or it's, for additional funding for a different programmatic reason. I don't see a reason why not. The announcement date, I think it might be helpful to have a little bit more time, like just doing that like the beginning of July, so that you would have a month where people would be aware that they were opening, and then a month where it's open.
Yeah.
And then
we had information like on a website.
Sure,
too, so
yeah.
people
Oh, and I
could-
know it was just like we were getting that process finalized and coming up on a day. And the real question I would have is, did you all feel like a month was long enough to hear the proposals and to make a recommendation back to the board? That most of the work fell to you all, and then we were just sort of choosing who, which among those we thought were appropriate.
So any thoughts from the advisory committee?
You were a representative.
No, Bob Schindler was the scoring.
Okay.
Last year for the advisory.
So if the
Right.
advisor thinks that that's a reasonable enough amount of time, then
May I ask,
Go ahead, Bruce.
are we responsible for researching what the environmental safeguards are required for these companies? Or do they have to report permitting or whatnot? When you composting food waste, then I'm sure there's environmental reporting required at a certain level.
yeah, but I think that would probably be a requirement that we would need to make sure is in the, in the actual grant
In the
award
application
process and the
and
application process.
We just don't want to become party to an offense occurring out in the environment.
Yeah, that should be.
Metro has, the main thing that they are is, the applicants have to be, in good standing with the Revenue Commission. That's their information requirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
An affidavit that they're.
And that their proposal would be in line with that. I would say that, and that their proposal is in line with that. Just because saying we're in it now, but we're proposing to do this other thing that might not be, wouldn't cover it. But yeah, I think that would be a good idea, and isn't like so burdensome on the company to provide.
One of the biggest things we face in the other jurisdiction I play in is making sure that everybody has the proper permits required for the.
So yeah, I've got the feedback, but I don't know if you all, want to make any official.
So, I mean, I'd be
decision.
happy to make a motion and then we can have discussion afterward if you think that would be helpful, or we can wait until we have a larger group, or.
Go ahead.
So, I mean, my motion would be to keep the same amount of funding at $50,000 for the 26-27 grant program, to allow past recipients to apply, and to have the announcement date be July 1st instead of July 17th.
Okay. So we have a
Second
motion
that.
and a second. Any thoughts, any discussion? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. So, continue the grant, same amount, and past recipients can apply, and then the announcement is going to be July, so July 17th. And the, allowing past recipients to apply is, of course, no, endorsement of past recipients, but they can be considered in the.
Yeah, there's just no
process.
restriction. It's you can't have applied if you
yeah.
have received funds within a certain amount of years.
And the guideline updates will go through committee anyway, so Bruce can help us with that too.
And a quick question on the Louisville Tool Library, you said they were kind of using their funds a little bit differently. Are their goals and outcomes still the same?
The goals and outcomes are the same, and I'm
Okay.
sure once they have a board as well, so that's why it's not really official, because he needed to take this amended budget to their board before we go through the process through the platform. But once that's all settled, we'll invite them to come share and they can explain it a little more. But they have a really good. We had both our food waste people here today, but the tool library was more in the reuse, and so we'll get some feedback from them soon. You all.
Anything else for the Waste District grant? Okay, let's move on to staff reports with the repair fair results.
Yes, Rachel is gonna share about this.
Sure. We did our second ever repair fair on March 7th. This was at the Portland Community Center. They allowed us to use their gym, which was a game changer in terms of space and sound and outlets, and it was just a lot. We had a lot more room, which was nice. We had fixers from all different facets of repair. We had this is our bike crew here up in the upper right. Greg Zradnik always gets a special photo. On our advisory committee, he was part of the Tinker committee that was a lot of GE engineers working together on appliances. We had musical instrument repairers. This time we had a welder guy reached out who was very cool and had his whole set up out in the parking lot so that there weren't fumes pouring through the community center. We had a guy that did woodworking. It was really cool. And we had a lot of folks from the surrounding community who were interested, which I think was really interesting and something we didn't really put a lot of effort into with the last one in the fall, but this time I really wanted to make an effort for this to be a Portland event. So we did a lot more outreach using Portland Anchor, the Portland Neighborhood Inc., their community association. And the community center itself is really well rooted in that community. So they were able to do a lot of outreach with us and for us. We flyered surrounding businesses, and a lot of this report that I got at the end showed that a lot of the folks who did come through were from the surrounding. It was really exciting for me. That volunteer number went up by about 8 people. So the last event we had closer to 20, this time we had closer to 30. And I was pleasantly surprised because on the day of the event, it was thunderstorming and like they had tornado watches and things that like definitely didn't get hit by a tornado, but I think that deterred a lot of walk-ins from coming. So we had a lot of appointments booked and then day of we had fewer people come in, but by the end of it, these numbers mirror the one in October, which was perfect weather and delightful for everyone. So we had 51 visitors come, and that is not, a lot of people brought more than one item. So we had 51 people, but 68 items came through. 76% of those items were repaired on the spot by somebody. And a lot of that 24% were people, the fixer said, I know exactly what needs to be done, but you need this very specific part for this specific thing, so, and that I don't have it in my pocket right now. So they were able to refer them to local shops to get their things completed or sent home with the YouTube video of here's how you'll do this once you order this part. And overall, we diverted 365 pounds from the landfill. So it was a great event in terms of community building. Anytime something was fixed, each fixing station had a bell that they ring. So we were just hearing bells ring throughout this gym all day. And it was cool. We identified a few more needs in the community. Diane was there doing sewing repairs, and we had not this problem in the fall, but apparently now everybody wants to bring a sewing machine to be repaired, which wasn't really what we advertised. The appliance guys were kind of like, ah! And then they would take you to the sewing room, and the sewers were kind of like, I sew. You want to look at my machine? So in the fall, we might advertise that differently and say either no sewing machine or we were able to recruit this specific sewing machine tech who can look at your stuff. But overall, I think it was a successful event, and we'll just keep building. The tool library partnered with us on this one. They were able to provide, don't sharpen knives, so I don't know exactly what it was, but a tool for knife sharpening for one of our preparers, and they offered in the fall to help us build out a marketing plan to try to raise some of these numbers so that we've got every station filled every half hour with an appointment, which is exciting because they've got a really great following. They shared our stuff, but they also offered to help like do promotional content. They have a really big following on TikTok. We're not allowed to have TikTok. So I think that that will work nicely in the fall. Questions?
Thank you.
Rachel?
Education calendar.
Yeah, so we decided, well, Rob actually asked us to do this just because he sees our calendar and knows how much we're doing, and he wanted us to visually share that with you all. So this is our March calendar. Basically, the yellow are school-ish classes. They're not always schools, but they're like classroom type style programs. The green are events, like we had the repair fair, and this Saturday will be at EarthFest. The light blue is business outreach. So Diana is leading that and has set up calls and waste audits and walkthroughs for sites to see how we can help with reducing waste and managing waste better at businesses. We have a pop-up drop-off. I have a totally different time. I'm going to tell you more about that, but we had one Saturday on March 21st. And then we have some city partnerships. All In on Clean is an initiative, and the mayor's office hosts community walks sometimes where they're going door to door and they ask for help, and we get to share resources and be with teams from other agencies. So those are on the calendar, and then tours that we might offer. So we are actually having a tour of the Louisville Tool Library, which we typically put those out to our No Waste ambassadors because they're new and learning, but of course anyone's welcome to join a tour that we're going to have. And so yeah, that's March. We finished up, Diane just finished up yesterday, a partnership with Backside Learning, which is Churchill Downs on site, kind of kids like us, but the parents work at Churchill Downs.
They do, the backside, they're, and they actually rent space at the Cornerstone Baptist Church on the street. And they do after school programming. They help them with their schoolwork. with their English, whatever they needed. This last year I did third kid, teenagers. This year I did the younger kids. They were so cute. We did plastics investigation, talked about how plastic is made and so they have.
And then coming up soon, we have a pretty full April calendar as well. With some, we're going to be hosting some tables at the zoo. I put it as an event because it's not really a class, but the 8th is during spring break. So we're hoping good weather usually brings lots of crowds to the zoo. So we decided not to attend the like Earth Day that's on a Sunday because it draws in a lot of people outside of the county. We typically don't talk to members and people right here in the community because they avoid the zoo on that day. So we decided to partner with them on different days and host some tables just at an exhibit. So that'll be fun. And we have a couple other Saturday events that we've been asked to table at. We're going to host a garden swap. Diana is leading that. So we've done a clothing swap and a fitness gear swap. And now for spring, we're doing a garden swap. So we'll see how that goes. Partnership with the water company will be at the Paris Town Garden Show. And then we have 2 tours scheduled. Thank you to Smurfit West Rock for always hosting our monthly tour, which we love. And if anyone here, Antonio's brand new, like if you are interested in touring, I make sure you get that link. And anybody who maybe hasn't been, it's a good time. And we're also touring for the second time. It's been a couple years, the Goodwill Second Chance Outlet Store, which is really neat to see. I don't know if anyone has ever shopped at one with the bins, and it's very interesting. Yeah, they call them boats that they bring out, but Preston Highway. So anyway, we get to tour kind of the back end of that to see once that material is, whatever's gone through in those boats, once it goes to the back, it's ready to be baled and recycled, and but it's the last chance. It's coming from the Goodwill stores, things that didn't sell. So anyway, so we'll have more to tell you about that and the details of that next month if you're interested. Anyway, so we just kind of wanted to highlight why our team is just running around crazy all spring, especially. It may not look like this every month, but yeah, our spring calendar is very full.
So super productive calendar. Certainly with the schools, I can see or imagine the kind of curriculum that would be involved in those classes. One of the classes was at the Waterfront Botanical Garden.
Yep.
So can you talk about how, like, in a class there would be different from like a school class?
Yeah, so the education leader at Botanical Garden, she's also a former zoo employee, but she contacted us and invited us to come be a partner with the teaching. And the program you are doing there is?
We are doing an incredible journey of recyclable materials. So kids will go to stations. So let's say I'll give a group of kids an aluminum can, and they travel the circularity of an aluminum can. So from consumer to recycling to manufacturing, whatever, the continuous of aluminum can versus maybe a plastic bottle.
So she already is doing some programs with this. It's a kind of a long field trip, I guess.
Yeah.
Sacred Heart
It's
coming to the
sacred, 2
Botanical
hours.
Garden. And so whatever she wanted us to come kind of fill the gap for the educational purpose for the waste.
And then my favorite, the landfill model.
Yeah. So, yeah, she uses the landfill model a lot. Conway Middle, I'm going to share about the email we received.
The curriculum coach for English and Language Arts at Conway Middle reached out to us and said, hey, did you know that the final unit for English and Language Arts for 7th grade for JCPS is about plastic collection? I said, no, I did not know that, but thank you for telling us that. So Diane is going to visit Conway to do plastics investigation, which is a lesson that she does all the time. Which we were glad to be able to partner them with, but he was also like, how can we talk about this at a broader scale of like all of the 7th grade teachers in Jefferson County are teaching this right now. So we're working with him to kind of brainstorm what that might look like in terms of teacher training, because he was kind of like, I have a science background, but the the language arts teachers don't. So if you can do a training of like, here's what plastics reduction looks like and that kind of thing, it can be a really beneficial resource for the teachers. So he then said he would put me in contact with somebody, and then later walked that back and said that because there's so much influx with the district right now that he doesn't know who that person will be. So that could be an interesting conversation moving forward if we're able to do like be on board with the professional development day for ELA for JCPS. We do classroom visits, but also we're starting to look more at like broader strategies to get into JCPS schools without Diane necessarily having to teach every 7th grader.
I will.
We don't want that.
Yeah, circularity, right? You can, but once again, it'll be plastic investigation and then a concentration on another favorite. There are plastics. I'm so excited about that.
Love it. All right, any other questions about the calendar? Let's go to pop-up drop-off.
Yes, and my next slide preview looks blank. And I don't know why, because I don't know. Anyway, I have this one. Okay. So we had our first pop-up drop-off of the year on Saturday at Sun Valley Park, and we partner with Ashby Lane Baptist Church because we can't quite fit everything in the park area. So a few of the categories end up over at the church, and people can go to either side or both or whatever. We had 647 participants, and these are the weights. Some are estimated, some are through weights, but in pounds of the material that was brought to the event. And our diversion rate ended up being close to 41%. And I do always have a chart of the number of people who brought each category. So of course, people can bring more than one thing to these events. Some people bring quite a few of the categories. Large items was top brought item this time. And then e-waste was next, then documents, shredding, and metal was pretty high too. This was, I think, the first time we actually put the metal dumpster ahead of the bulky waste trucks, which it did slow them down a little bit, but we know that we capture more metal whenever we get it first. So, and then followed by yard waste, medicine collected by the sheriff's department, tires, regular household recyclables, and then this year we partnered with Goodwill, which I have another slide about, and then shoes we accept and donate those to Water Step. Were you going to say something? Or whatever?
Yes.
Oh, we can see the pen moving.
So we've discussed this, a number of times, just about trying to make it easier for people to properly and more responsibly dispose of batteries. I think there's a lot of people who, if you make it easier for them to dispose of batteries in a responsible manner, they probably will. If they always have to drive to the was it Great Lane?
Yeah, the has been on Great Lane.
Then they're probably not going to do it. Almost, the vast majority of people would not do it.
Based on the tonnage there, most people are not. Yeah.
I would be interested in any opportunity in the near or distant future to incorporate batteries into these pop-up drop-offs. I think it would be one way to really drive up diverting batteries from landfills. I don't know how easy that is.
Yeah, I mean,
we've had conversations about that.
It would be pretty cost intensive just based on what the has been. But I think if the focus is on diverting the material and knowing that it's a safety hazard to be in vehicles and in motion, then I think that's something definitely to consider. And that's,
I've got some regulatory
Yeah.
concerns as far as packaging and shipping, so much. Agreement over the road. You know, you come into certain potential, regulations and manifests, so it's a lot more involved. Batteries is one thing, try to do hazardous materials. You know, there was stuff left laying on the ground. So you have to be very careful with those, but something definitely, I think. It isn't as easy as just accepting them.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not just a, let's just do it kind of conversation. But what I do know is that I've got a drawer full of used batteries, and I haven't been to the drop-off location in probably 10 years.
Just also keep in mind, there are other places. I think that you can take them to.
Batteries across the board.
Battery supplies.
The last I checked, they only take recyclable batteries.
Yes. The alkaline, we tried to put taking those because back in a certain amount of time, they had to remove any hazardous that made them where they couldn't go. Now they can go, they are recyclable, but you get very little recyclable material out of it. So it's $1, we said at the time, it's like $1.50. And 80% of them that you're going to get are going to be. So if we did it, just trying to manage it, they come in, they already are. I think it's something that's preferable. Not much benefit.
Or like some of the larger batteries as well. I mean, I would imagine those would be.
You're talking like the drill battery, hand drill battery, is that what you're talking about? Or?
I mean, it could be a drill battery. It could be like the larger batteries that, they're like square, but
Still lead acid.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's possible, but they would have to get still lead acid instead of one that you would. Oh, yeah.
Very worthwhile conversation. Okay.
There's a few more slides for this, so I'll just carry on, but we always get a zip code map, or we ask every participant in the pop-ups what zip code they came from. So they are often the red and oranges, typically around wherever the event was, and that's the same case here, but we do get a few people from just about everywhere at every event. This was the Goodwill truck, and so, we're focusing on more reuse, and like with the repair fair, just kind of helping get that mindset changed through Louisville. And so we are partnering with Goodwill at every event, and hopefully we'll get a little more participation, as in people purposely bringing the items to donate. But we were in line asking what they had and suggesting in some cases that they give that to Goodwill instead. I particularly talked to a few people with Christmas trees. Is it still good? Well, yeah. Okay, let's donate it instead. So at the end, they had 7 Gaylord boxes. I think their estimate, after talking to them about their standards, because I want to make sure I always have the same standard for each event, it ended up being 4,450, I think. I can't remember, but close to 5,000 pounds of material, estimated weight of material donated. This was in District 14, Councilwoman Bast brought lunch. White Castle's partnered with White Castle. Actually, they donated partially to the staff, which was nice. And again, Ashby Lane Baptist Church, they actually promote the event on their sign, which is nice. And then they always open up their building for us to use the restrooms. Yeah. So we did have a few people getting in the wrong line, like maybe they didn't need to be at the church and they came to the church parking lot. We told them, oh, you know, you have to go around. So we just know we need to do better next time that we're at this particular location to help people really know exactly which line they should be in if they didn't bring multiple categories. And then I've shared this in the event summary that goes to the council office and different people that are involved, but this, at some point, the line did take quite a long time to get people through. And this is why, like, this is how much material was being brought. Some of that is perfectly fine. We don't have a limit on large items, but if you went around to the back, there was, you know, lots of smaller junk kind of piled underneath. And we try to talk to people like about what's really allowed at these events and why it's important. Even the yard waste, they do have great equipment to use, but this guy, you know, you can kind of see that was really a little bigger than we take. It definitely wasn't bundled. And I saw them open the truck and I felt kind of bad for the workers, like, well, here we go, you know, and they just have to pull it all out by hand because they obviously can't use the claw on the guy's pickup truck. So anyway.
If you threaten to, it may get them to bundle
Well,
next
that's true. So this was just a way for me to, in the summary, kind of help people understand, like, this is why we need you to follow our guidelines. It's not like this material isn't compostable or isn't allowed to go. It's just offloading can take some time, and that creates these long lines that we get. So we do have our next event coming up very soon, April 4th. At UofL Shelby campus. So, and this is our new flyer that includes Goodwill on it. So I'm going to bring it to you. If anybody, you can grab some flyers at the end if you all want.
I think, hasn't that been one of the, like, the lower attended events in the past, or is this one of the
Higher.
bigger, higher? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I remember
I was
it's
like-
on the extreme of the,
It's
yeah, sorry.
extreme,
Okay.
higher. It holds the record of over 900
Okay.
participants. So we don't really want that. You can tell, you can feel it when we have over 900 people coming to these events. But we have great staff and everybody, you know, it's always kind of, it can be a whirlwind, but it's always fun and we get to talk to a lot of people. And even when they do have to wait, typically because they're getting this great free service, they don't mind.
So you wouldn't want to do one of these at like Southeast Christian Church? I feel like this is something that they would probably be open to, but it might be a record.
They have a lot of parking lot space, so it might be a
huge
good location, but no, we haven't. Well, I'm sure they would have to, if they don't already have some kind of permit process. I mean, I get a permit from Parks, I get a permit from JCPS to be on their property. And so, anyway, that is a good thought.
Diane, did you have a
Yeah, I
question?
can't remember what I was gonna say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That happened.
Let's move to resource recycling.
Yeah, so I will go through this fast. I, don't want to keep going too far over, but Diane and I actually got to go to the Resource Recycling Conference, which is why we weren't in attendance to the board meeting last month. We were coming home. It was in San Diego, California, which was really nice in February. And this year, we have been to the Resource Recycling Conference before. Pete even has gone to one before. We had it in Louisville in November. I think some of you all attended some of the events there. But this year, they combined the Plastics Recycling Conference and the Textiles Recovery Summit into all one big conference. So it was kind of interesting to see. I looked at all the sessions I went to. I think most of them were part of the Resource Recycling Conference because that's what interests me. I ended up, I know at least one textile session, and I think Diane went to a few plastics ones because as you could hear, she loves to talk about plastics and learn more. So I just wanted to briefly go over some of the sessions that we went to. We did split up some. These are the ones I went to. Diane went to a few that were different when they were coinciding. A policy 101 workshop, one about repair, reuse, and sharing. Food waste programs, learn like what we can learn about outreach, because we're already doing a lot of recycling outreach, what we can do about food waste, education and outreach in practice, recycling glass. It was with the Scott DeFife, and we've worked with him here in Louisville already for the Don't Trash Glass program. So he did a session. Improving community recycling. That was the recycling partnerships session, which was fantastic. Beyond packaging, that one wasn't as relevant, but it was interesting to hear about some programs going on in Minnesota. The importance of repair in extending the life of textiles, also interesting. So I highlighted these two because I had just a little bit I wanted to share. With the textile one, they did talk about, the reason that it's so important is it makes up 8% of landfill mass in the US. And these were a couple quotes that I wrote in my notes that I thought was really good. Make it as cool to talk about your fashion care as your fashion haul. I don't know how many of you all are on social media, but sometimes you see videos of what you found or, these things you're buying, but doing the same thing about how you're taking care of it or you're repairing things. And then making repair just as exciting as buying new. And then the built to last, I shared another picture of our repair fair because it's actually during that session that they showed pictures of people holding up a fixed sign, which I thought was really cool. So we just made one for our repair fair, which was coming up. And then we heard from these 3 different organizations and some of the programs they're doing. There's a reuse hub. Austin has for their university there, like a free furniture market when they move out, which I know UofL does some things like that. And the right to repair movement. So these are just some notes from that. Then another one was related to education and outreach in practice. And this was some things that Oregon was doing. And I just thought, well, they were kind of focusing on consistent messaging like we had, for quite some time through our advisory committee. So some of the things they were learning from the public, and then how they put that into words for public facing education and outreach. I won't go over all this just because we're so short on time. And then during that session, they actually used an app to do a lot of polls from the audience, which was kind of interesting, I guess. But when they asked, like, what do we all need to stop putting our money toward or stop doing? And some of the things people said, awareness doesn't equal behavior change, which I totally agree with. Quit myth busting and just put out correct info and stay away from doom and gloom. So, and then if you had a bigger budget, what would you do? And the top things were having more tours, door-to-door outreach, and a training for station attendants. So I thought that was interesting, at least with us offering tours and we're doing door-to-door outreach. It made me feel good, like, oh, well, we'd be doing some things that maybe other cities don't have a budget for. And then they asked the audience to rank outreach by effectiveness, which I thought was also interesting. Residential outreach events, cart tagging, bin stickers, and social media, which we're doing all but the bin stickers, really. So some of it was kind of validating, And then lastly, again, I actually might just, if you're interested, I can just send you the entire presentation, but it was so good from the recycling partnership. Overcoming the belief behavior gap, because just because you believe that recycling makes a difference doesn't mean that you participate in it. And they see that from the numbers. They did a pilot in Cincinnati. Mailers, it significantly increased recycling participation to households that were already recycling. They also provided in-home bins But that was a little more effective to households that weren't already recycling. So I thought that, was kind of an incentive to get started. And anyway, they have tons of data from their pilots that they've done on recycling participation, which we are embarking on in the education department. We've run into some things with some of our other programs, realizing that we do need to increase that participation, and we're trying to look at ways to do that. This is focused on multifamily, but offering a bag that has the material on it for them, for the idea if you have to carry your items out, maybe to a recycling dumpster at an apartment complex, what can help people do that and help them recycle right. And again, I won't go over all of this, but this is just some really good guidance for changing behavior, basically. Now, not only did we attend sessions, but we also met people, like at lunch when you sit and with random people. But we did meet someone from Columbus, Ohio, that was doing a business outreach program, and they have a really robust website that we're already looking at and seeing what we can glean from that. Bruce may be familiar just because Rumpke is in Columbus, but they have even a reimbursement, like a incentive for businesses to offer the first, if they don't already recycle, to offer the first 6 months hauling paid for. That way, if they, it might get them started and realize that it's not that difficult, and it's a really good thing to do. Or composting service, I guess, not just recycling, but anyway, I thought that was really interesting. And so between, like, I guess with incentives and this idea of things that might cost some money, I am curious from you all, like if there's a direction that we should be going, or if fleshing out something, a pilot of some sort that might cost a little money, but something the board might want to put money into. I'm curious about that. This is just a few other pictures. That was our hotel, which was really nice and brand new. That was a heron eating something in the bay. The other thing is Recycle Coach had a booth in the vendor space, and they had our website up on their iPad as a display to show how a city could. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then Goodwill, their Goodwill was a partner, and they had a whole long display of reuse projects. And this one was taking men's shirts, which are often very plentiful at thrift stores, and making them into pants. So I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, sometimes people were sharing flyers or things at sessions. So my reflection of this was that I felt we were validated. Some of our current strategies match these best practices that we hear about. Also inspired because you hear about even bigger programs happening that you that we want to maybe start. And again, wondering if the board would support any incentives specifically to address low recycling participation, because that goes hand in hand with residents and businesses in Louisville. So that's what I got from the conference.
Thank you for sharing that. Any thoughts or questions?
What would you say, like, this is jumping ahead slightly in the agenda, but I think that, I'd definitely be interested in hearing some of the examples that you saw for participation and incentives to increase participation. And I think that might be something that we could ask you all to work with the advisory committee, just to see like what are some programs that other cities are doing, and what do they look like, and how would that look like when it's being implemented.
Yeah.
So,
I'm always interested in creating incentives and disincentives for behavior change. So I think that sounds interesting.
Definitely answer yes to that question.
Thank you.
Karen, did you send us our presentation out?
I have not yet, but I can, yeah.
Oh, appreciate it.
No problem.
Any other questions or feedback on the conference report? Okay, advisory committee report. There wasn't a February meeting. And the committee needs directions from the 109 board.
Which it sounds like we did. You said you jumped ahead, but if we can bring some ideas to the advisory committee for that, for something, and I wasn't sure if there was anything else.
You could also tell us where there is a road.
Yes, that if we have like a heat map or something like that, that we can kind of prioritize and have some direction there.
Yeah, even what particular items are not used. It's a road.
And it could even coincide with, issues that we have with illegal dumping, that you might see a correlation between low participation and also higher illegal dumping in that same general vicinity. Any other thoughts or questions?
I think last week was just a moment for the advisory committee to take a breath. And
So it was no March meeting, right? Not no February meeting? Was that, did you all meet in February also or no?
Yes. But it's no.
But that's what I, yeah, there's no March meeting. Okay, that, I
Right,
just got
that's
thrown off.
a typo from me. Yeah, thanks.
And obviously, you assign us with what we've done before. We didn't want to get off on any tangents. If there could be anything coming up, like, we should know about it. So, I mean, there's always plenty that we can reach out and do. Look at that PowerPoint or budget and your budget. Start looking. Thank you, learn from San Diego. Take us all up there.
Looks like there were plenty of rooms at that hotel. I can stay with the Heron if we don't.
Yeah, and we could even look at, I know we discussed the heat map idea. We can also look at areas that we've traditionally not served as heavily. I don't know if that would include like certain south end zip codes. I am aware that when we've discussed illegal dumping in the past, that we've had some hotbeds in that general area. So maybe that's a good starting point. Any other thoughts or feedback for the advisory committee? Okay, let's move to public input. Anybody wishing to be heard on items not pertaining to the agenda? Seeing no hands, we'll move forward to announcements.
Yeah, I just put some of the big things coming up. We'll be at Louisville Earth Fest at Alberta Jones Park on Saturday. Pop-up drop-off at Shelby campus, we mentioned, for April 4th. We'll be at Tree Fest on the 11th. The advisory committee will be scheduled for April 15th. We'll be at the Paris Town Garden Show on the 19th, and then the next board meeting is not March 25th. I did not replace that, so I guess that would be
Our work here is
April. Yeah.
See you all in May.
The advisory committee.
Yeah, April 22nd, you're right.
Did not be relevant. March.
Okay, anything else? All right. Motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.